All right, good morning everybody. Finishing up our final class or final online session for the fall 2012 semester. One thing that I'll note to you guys is that I have a background program going on over here where it is going to make some noise, so try not to pay too much attention to that and the little popping sounds it makes. So today what we're going to do is finish up Chapter 16. Please remember that our final exam is Thursday, 12/13 from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the Computer-Based Testing Center. And we also have the comprehensive final if you're going to do a makeup final. And that is tomorrow from 9 to 4. And so in finishing up Chapter 16, we've been talking about conservation and biodiversity and ecosystems and habitat management. And what we can basically do as far as being biologists and being people who care about the environment is we develop strategies for effective conservation. What you see happening in this picture here is people planting trees in order to stop the spread of the desert. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that because deserts are made of sand, it's very easy for them to expand and expand, and as that happens, we lose biodiversity. So we always have limited resources, mostly things like money, things like time, things like legal resources. So we have to prioritize which species are going to be preserved. And so do we protect something that's big and beautiful like these snow leopards, or do we protect something that maybe can't even be seen like soil bacteria that may have unknown roles in their ecosystem? There are hundreds and thousands and millions of species, and many of those are going extinct. And so we need to be able to think about, do we save things that are pretty, or do we save things that we don't even know what their potential might be in the environment? Lots of underlying issues, and the fact is things are going extinct. Things are going extinct not just because of man's role, but because historically, looking back millions of years, things just go extinct. And so do we save them, or do we allow them to go away? So one of the things that scientists look at is would we preserve a species, or do we work on preserving the entire habitat that goes along with multiple species? And that tends to be the direction that we go, because you can't just save a species. You can put it in a zoo and keep it living there, and allow its habitat to go away, and that certainly has happened in cases like the great panda, or in this case orangutans. But if we allow habitats to slip away, that's losing a precious resource that we may never be able to get back, and that includes multiple species. And so we have to have plans in order to achieve our goals. Things like the Endangered Species Act have been enacted that are laws that help to protect certain species along with the habitat where they live. So lots of questions and never really all of the answers. So there are multiple effective strategies for preserving biodiversity, not just for their utilitarian roles, but for their beauty and their ecosystems, historical value, and things like that. So landscape conservation is something that has been championed by the World Wildlife Fund, who has identified those distinct areas around the Earth that contain distinct species that are always on the verge of going extinct. So we conserve not just the species, but the habitats and the processes that go along with them. Sometimes our first attempt at preserving wildlife, like in this case, one of the first national parks that was created, was Yosemite. And so to preserve the wilderness, we have to think about humans and their expanding needs, and our agricultural needs, and saving those wilderness areas that may seem like, well, we'll just go in and we'll drill for oil, and it's not going to make a difference, but it really does make a difference. And so national parks are one way that we conserve these areas here in the United States. So that wraps up our Chapter 16. If you've been questioning to yourself, well, why did I have to take this course? This really doesn't have anything to do with my major. The reasons that we have students take these type of courses is because it's important for students to understand what science is and why science is important. Science is obviously going to affect your everyday life as you think about healthcare, and you think about having children and getting vaccines, and you think about the cures for diseases, if you think about our food system and what it is that you eat, and making decisions based on good science rather than on just people's anecdotes. Understanding what makes up all living things and how mutations and alleles and chromosomes affect everyone. Understanding how genetics influences our living things and how species are going to change over time. Things like antibiotic resistance, and understanding how things change over long spans of time. And then finally understanding our role in nature and how to preserve life. So this course, I like to think, is pretty important in giving students the exposure to those things. Some other things that we talk about are giving students like yourself 21st century skills. So being creative, problem solving. How did you go through and solve the problems that you were faced with in your lab? How do we as scientists solve problems around us? How can we critically think about the problems that affect us, do research, and find out answers to our problems? This course also gives you a global awareness of some things that you may not have realized were existing outside of our little corner of the world, which is Akron, Ohio. We also, through the labs, try and get the students to work together in doing the labs and in doing the project. So collaboration is a 21st century skill that your employers will be looking for, and so as you learn to work together, you're also gaining skills for your employment. We try to give students social and cross-cultural skills, working with diverse people and understanding that there are lots of different viewpoints out there. And then finally, productivity and accountability, which apparently I didn't spell correctly. Being able to produce and being able to be held accountable for your work in this course. You did do lots of work. You're doing work right now, and you're being productive, and I guess I could say I am too. In the lab, you got to work with a lot of things that you may not have worked with before. We looked at termites and betas. You learned about areas that you may have never been exposed to before, like the Galapagos Islands, and we've talked about how things change over time, things go extinct, and lots of diverse organisms, the study of life. And so you'll be consumers of healthcare, consumers of food, consumers of goods that are grown in nature. You'll be voters and parents, and so most importantly what we want is someone who can think about science as part of their life. The final thing that I'd like for you to do today is please add to your notes what some of your favorite things were about lecture or your favorite thing about lab, and then this is your chance to kind of tell me now before the end of the semester, how could we improve on this course? What are some things that I should work on to make this better? And then please be realistic about the allowing for a demanding course. and a 4-credit-hour course, how I can improve it, and then any part of the parting words that you have. Also, I would encourage all of you to visit Rate My Professor and give me some feedback and put in for other students who will take this course in the future some good things, bad things about my teaching, or what you liked or what you didn't like. It's important for students to be able to search for those things and find information that will help them to make better choices as they choose courses for their degrees. So thank you very much. I hope you guys have a wonderful semester. Good luck on your exams, and